He was the editor of the print journal Nirdhar and now edits an online Gujarati Dalit poetry magazine also called Nirdhar. He's a photographer and has made documentary films. He's committed to publishing writing by Dalit and Adivasi writers from Gujarat.
मैं जो कविता पढ़ने जा रहा हूँ उसका टाइटल है परंपरा, गुजराती में है ट्रेडिशन। मारा देशનું નામ ખબર નથી, મારા દેશનું ધર્મ ખબર નથી, મારા દેશની જાતિ ખબર નથી. હા, મારા દેશની એક પરંપરા છે, પરંપરા પાછી રૂઢિચુસ્ત છે, પરંપરાનું નામ ખબર નથી. પણ પરંપરા વિશે આમ કહી શકું, પાણીને એની સાથે ફાવતું નથી, ભૂખને એનું વળગણ છે, હવાથી એ વિખરાઈ જાય છે, વરસાદથી એ ઉભરાઈ જાય છે, એની ગોદડીમાં ઠંડી ઠૂંઠવાઈ જાય છે. હજી ઉમેરણ કરી શકું, બાલ કે વૃદ્ધ, કિશોર કે યુવાન, સ્ત્રી કે પુરુષ, મારા દેશવાસીના ભાલમાં પરંપરા, આંખમાં પરંપરા, બેસી ગયેલા ગાલમાં પરંપરા, ચામમાં પરંપરા, બહાર આવવા મથી રહેલા હાડમાં પરંપરા, એના શરીરમાં રક્તવાહિનીઓ નહીં, પરંપરા વાહિનીઓ છે. મારો દેશવાસી પરંપરા ખાય છે ને પરંપરા કાઢે છે. મારા દેશમાં પરંપરા જીવે છે, જન્મે છે ને મરે છે. તો બસ મારો દેશવાસી, મારો આ દેશ જોવા તું આવીશ ને?
Thank you. So I'm going to read a translation of Umesh's poem that I've done, and then there are a couple of poems that have been translated by other translators from the Gujarati, and Umesh will indicate when we read that. So this particular poem is called Parampara, Tradition. I do not know the name of my country. I do not know the religion of my country. I do not know the caste of my country. My country has a tradition, an orthodox tradition. I do not know the name of that tradition, but I can say this about that tradition. Water does not get along with it. Hunger is its constant companion. It is scattered by the wind. It overflows in the rain. It shivers cold in the blanket. I can add this: child or aged, adolescent or young, woman or man, my fellow citizens carry it on their forehead, in their eyes, in their sunken cheeks, in their skin, in their skeleton. They cannot escape this tradition. They do not have blood vessels in their bodies. They have tradition vessels. My fellow citizens consume the tradition and expel it. The tradition lives in my country. It is born and it dies. So, my fellow citizens, will you come to see my country? Come, won't you?
આજકાલ હું ફૂલને ફૂલ નથી કહેતો, એના શ્વાસનો આકાર કહું છું. ચંદ્રને ચંદ્ર નથી કહેતો, એના સ્પર્શનો ચમત્કાર કહું છું. એના કેશને કેશ નથી કહેતો, ત્રીજા નેત્રના ઉઘડેલા પોપચાના પરિણામની કાળી ધૂમ્રસેરો કહું છું. એની વાતોમાં મહાન પ્રેમ ગીતમાં લપાયેલા કોઈ કુંવારા અર્થને શોધું છું. સરોવર જેવા એના શરીર પર મંદ મંદ શ્વાસોથી લહેરો બનાવું છું. છતાં કોઈ પ્રબળ ખેંચાણ ખેંચી જાય છે મને, ખખડી ગયેલી ઝૂંપડીના ખૂણામાં પડેલા ગાસ્તેલિયા દીવાની થરથરતી જ્યોત આડે હાથ ધરવા. બાળોતિયા વગરની નિર્દોષતાને હું ફાંફવા, ઠંડા પડી ગયેલા લોહીને શબ્દોના લાવાથી ગરમ કરવા ને તરત પછી સામે એની બની જાઉં છું હું ઠંડુ પડી ગયેલું શરીર. આજકાલ હું ઠંડુ પડી ગયેલું શરીર પણ બની જાઉં છું. થેન્ક યુ.
Let us see how it goes. Before I read the translation for you, this is from a series of poems by Umesh, which are love poems. But what he does very beautifully in the love poems that he has been writing is talk about discrimination, talk about caste. And I think that is something I haven't really seen before in Dalit poetry. So this particular one is called Khechan. Khechan means pull. These days, I do not call flowers flowers. I say they are the shape of her breath. I do not call the moon moon. I speak of the wonder of her touch. I do not call her hair hair. I say they are dark coils of smoke emanating on the opening of the third eye. In her words, I look for something new intertwined in a great love song. On her lake body, I blow waves with soft breath. Yet some force pulls me, urges me to put my hand on the flame of a kerosene lamp in the dark corner of a run-down hut. To give warmth to childlike innocence, to heat cold blood with the lava of words. And suddenly, in her presence, I become a cold body. These days, I also become a cold body. Thank you.
This poem is also love one. મારા રસ્તે હળવે ચાલ્યા અમે એક રસ્તે, હવે એ એના રસ્તે હું મારા રસ્તે. ટેરવાને ટેરવાની માયા છૂટી, એના ટેરવે ટેરવા ફૂટ્યા, ટેરવા મારા હથેળીમાં ઘૂસ્યા, અને એ એના રસ્તે હું મારા રસ્તે. છેલ્લે જ્યારે મેં જોઈ એને ઝાંખા કાળા વાળમાં, પછી ખોઈ એને. હૈયે ત્યારે હામ નહોતી ઝાંખી, હૈયે ત્યારે હામ નહોતી, હામની ઝાંખી ભાળ નહોતી, પણ આંખ હામથી જોતી હતી નવા અજાણ્યા રસ્તાને. છાનું છાનું ઉછાળીને જોર કેટલું હોઈ શકે ઠાઠ ઠોકરનો માપતી હતી. હતો જ્યારે હું મારા રસ્તે એ એના રસ્તે. નવા અજાણ્યા રસ્તા પર ડગલું માંડ્યું, ડગલામાંથી ઓયમાં કરતું એક પગલું છૂટ્યું, પગલામાંથી લાલ રંગની ધાર નીકળી, ધાર નીકળીને ઊંચે ચડી, ઊંચે ચડીને ઝરણું બની, ઝરણું બનીને નીચે ઉતરી, નીચે ઉતરીને નદી થઈ, નદી થઈ તો ગજબ થયો. ઠોકરનો શેલારો થયો, એક શેલારો હૈશો, બીજો શેલારો હૈશો, હૈશો હૈશો હૈશો, હૈશો હૈશો હૈશો. વર્ષોની વણઝાર ગઈ, દરિયાનો અણસાર નથી, પોપચા પટપટ થયા કરે, પટપટનો લગીર થાક નથી. થાક વગરના પોપચા લઈ રંગવાળા બાંકડે બેસી, પાનું પુસ્તકનું ખોલ્યું, આખે આખું પાનું જોયું. પાનુંમાંથી પાના થયા, ટેરવા થોડા હળવા થયા, પુસ્તક તરત બંધ કર્યું, ઊભા થઈને ડગલું ભર્યું, ને અમે અચાનક ભટકાઈ પડ્યા. એણે જોયું ન જોયું કર્યું, નજરને મેં સ્વસ્થ કરી, જોયું ન જોયુંની કદર કરી, ઠાઠવાળી ઠોકરને પગ હલાવી સરખી કરી. પછી એ એના રસ્તે હું મારા રસ્તે, એ એના રસ્તે હું મારા રસ્તે.
This particular poem has been translated by Pratishtha Pandya. And the title she's given it is She is on Her Own. We walked gentle steps on a common road, and now she's on her own and I'm on my own. Palms lost touch with palms, her fingertips on new fingers play. My fingertips in my closed palm do lay. And then she's on her own and I am on my own. She was lost in the dark, dull hair. Last, when at a distance I saw her, my heart had no courage left. Not an iota of it, I bet. But brave eyes stared paths new and strange, secretly swinging every obstacle in the air, mapping the strength and splendor, stumbling on every step. That is when I walked on my own, and she was on her own. I stepped on paths new and strange. Oh no, said a step that escaped my feet. A red trail escaped the step, climbed up and turned into a stream. It came down like a stream that turned into a river. What wonder was that river? It stumbled like a wave. First wave, high shore. Second wave, high shore, high shore, high shore, high shore, high shore. The caravan of time passes. There is no sign of the sea. My eyelids flutter, an incessant flutter. I sit on a colored bench, stare at the leaf from an open book. The whole of the leaf, look. Leaf turns into leaves, light at my fingertips. I closed the book. I took a step, and lo, we bumped into each other. She pretends she did not see me. I gathered my gaze, accepting the neglect. I fixed my foot past that grand stumble. It was then that she was on her own, and I was on my own. She was on her own, and I was on my own.
Now I will read a poem in English translated by Hemang Desai. Title is Man, It Should Freeze. Man, it should freeze. Something somewhere should freeze at least, so that the thick sheet of fog is cleared. At a roadside tea stall, tea should freeze in kettle. Slivers of betel nuts at a palm shop should turn into hard, jagged grit. Vegetables in the hawker's cart should morph into stones. Pani puri into pebbles. Mere touch of money should ossify soft fingerprints into dead sea shells. A man ambling down the street should be stuck tight to the tar, like black letters of newspapers nailed forever in mind. For this thick sheet of a fog to clear, something somewhere should freeze. Something somewhere should freeze. Thank you.
Which I have translations of, but not quite the Gujarati. The first one is called Biklo Speaks. Biklo is the name of the speaker in this poem. Ram, I am not Shambuk, that you can simply chop my head off. Drone, I am not Eklavya, that you can lop my thumb off at will. I am Biklo. If you ask for anything without payment, I will let out a curse. And this is the last poem from Umesh. Thank you. It is called Voghu, and Voghu in the dialect of Gujarati spoken in the Sabarkantha district is a natural canal through which water makes its way into a lake or into a river. And when it is dry, it is a place that villagers go to relieve themselves. You know, there are times hidden parts of the Voghu which are also used as a space for intimate relations. So this is about the Voghu. Bend after bend after bend. So many bends, even a snake would tire. One such bend of many bends. On the bend, a fence of Thor, dripping milk. Thorny. The thick of the untouched forest, dressed in the beauty of Adivasi women. Near the Thor, at times thick, at times thin, arching over the bend, a babool bush. Struggling to seep through the babool, the afternoon sun hangs from the bush as fruit. Some sunlight pushes through to the sand, losing its strength. On the weak sunlight, you come and sit. I sit touching you. Then you lay down, your foot turning over the chambo. A rusted chambo falls over. Water longs for sand. In a gulp, it swallows the sand. The sand contained a strange death. Water dies in an instant. Leaning on my elbow, I wind a lock of your hair around my finger. Sweetly shy, you turn your face away. I say, your lovely eyes, only your face visible, are a tigress sitting quiet in a cave of the White Mountains. You break out laughing. You're breaking into laughter like water spilling on the sand from the chammo. A baby boar wanders from the bend. I pick up a clod of earth. You quickly stay my hand. The coal slips to earth, and the board disappears into the bend. I look into your eyes. Looking, I lose myself. Suddenly, a deer runs through my eyes. In a long leap, it enters yours. Turning your face to the left, you close your eyes for a while. I glance away, and at a distance, see a little baby donkey. Such a dear a clod of earth hits the little donkey. Its whole body shakes in fear. I see that shiver take over your face. Then, a slow release of breath, which strikes against my eyes. You take my face in your hands, mixing a little smile in your pain. You say, you are beautiful, like the little donkey. My body shivers, turns to tears, and drops from the eyes. The little donkey stands there, the wogu, a parallel for a fistful of earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Umesh and Gopika. A few words about Gopika. Gopika is a bilingual poet and a translator, writing in English and Gujarati. Her literary writing and translations have been published widely. She's committed to translating writing from marginalized communities and is working on a project of English translations of Dalit and Adivasi poetry from Western India. She's the editor at large for Wasafiri International Contemporary Writing and editor for the PRNTA, Practice, Research, and Tangential Activities. Next up, we have Bharati Kapadia, who will be reading the poetry of Bhadrakant Zaveri. Bharati Kapadia has participated in several international exhibitions, including The Search Within, showcasing works of 10 Indian and 10 Austrian artists, and the National Gallery of Modern she's also participated in art initiatives by the Transcultural Exchange, Boston. Bhadrakant Zaveri is a Gujarati poet, playwright, director, and actor. Bhadrakant Zaveri, who was fatally injured, passed away in 1993 due to a bomb blast. His career as a dramatist spans over 3 decades, during which he gave 35 plus 1 act plays and 20 full-length plays to the Gujarati theatre. Would you? Thank you.
So this evening at 3:45, we, that is myself and my colleague and director of the film, called How Do I Show the Ocean Space You Carried Inside You, is being screened here. It's a docudrama on Bhadrakant. This poetry reading is that I've selected very few poems from his oeuvre. I'll be reading the first 2 poems in Gujarati and then translated in English. And then let's see whether we have any more time. This is called Vasant Panchami. I think about 10 days or a week ago, the Vasant Panchami set according to the Indian calendar. Avati Vasantani Panchamini. આગલી જ સાંજથી હું તો અડધો જમીનમાં ખૂંપી જઈ ને છોડ થઈ ને ઊભો રહી જવાનો. આવતી વસંતની પંચમીની આગલી જ સાંજથી હું તો અડધો જમીનમાં ખૂંપી જઈ ને છોડ થઈ ને ઊભો રહી જવાનો, ને કૂંપડો ને કળીઓ ને બળીઓ મને રાતો રાત ફૂટવાની, ને મારા ફૂલના પરાગની હવા ઉભરાવાની. મને મારી જ સુગંધના ઘેન ચડશે તો? મારા મૂંઝારાનું વાદળું આવતે ચોમાસે પહેલા વરસાદમાં મને ભીંજવશે કે? મારા પ્રેમની કવિતા મેં તો હજુ સુધી કરી જ નથી. રાતનું એકાંત મને મારી તો નહીં નાખે. હું તો ઊંડે ઊંડે ઉતરીશ, પગની આંગળીઓને લાંબે લાંબે લંબાવીશ, ધરતીને ચૂસી ચૂસી ચૂસી. યુસી, વિચારો તો આવે, આવવાના. તોય આવતી વસંત પંચમીની આગલી જ સાંજે હું તો છોડ થઈ જવાનો. Vasant Panchami. On the eve of the coming Vasant Panchami, I shall burrow half into the earth and become a plant and stand fixed in a place. And new shoots and buds and such will blossom on me overnight. And in the rising air, my flowers scent. What if my own fragrance intoxicates me? In the coming monsoon, will the cloud of my confusion drench me with the very first shower? And I have not even made the poem of my love till now. Might not the solitude of night kill me? But I will keep going deeper, my toes growing longer, stretching further, sucking earth's juices. You see, thoughts do arise, as they will. Even so, on the eve of the coming Vasant Panchami, I will become a plant. This has the date of the poem as a title, 5મી નવેમ્બર 1971. હું શોધું છું મારું બોધિવૃક્ષ. હું શોધું છું મારું બોધિવૃક્ષ. પીપળો દેખાય કે દોડી જાઉં અને ટપ્પ બેસી પડું હેઠે. પડ બેપડ યુગ બેયુગ બેસી રહું, મારું કંઈ કહેવાય નહીં. બોધિવૃક્ષ નથી એવી ખાતરી થાય ત્યારે જ ઉઠું અને આદરું ફરીથી મારી ખોજ. આ અદમ્ય ઝંખના નિરંતર સફર, સફરમાં પગલે પગલે થતા અનુભવો. શું કહું તમને? એક વખત એક હોટલમાં ક્યાંકથી આવીને એક આગંતુક સામેની ખુરશી પર ધબ્બ દઈને બેસી પડ્યો. હાથમાંની બેગ બાજુમાં નીચે જમીન પર મૂકી, ખિસ્સામાંથી રૂમાલ કાઢી મોં લૂછતા લૂછતા મેનુ પર એણે નજર ફેરવી. વેઇટરે મૂકેલો પાણીનો ગ્લાસ ગટ 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 ગટાવી ઓર્ડર આપી ગજવામાંથી ડાયરી કાઢી ને એમાં એણે કંઈ ટપકાવ્યું. પોતાનું અધૂરું ચિત્ર બે ડગલા પાછળ હટીને જોતા ચિત્રકારની જેમ ડાયરીને સહેજ આગળ કરીને એ ક્ષણભર જોઈ રહ્યો ને પછી તરત જ ત્વરાથી ડાયરી ગજવામાં સરકાવી એક આછું સ્મિત ફરકાવી જાણે કંઈ બન્યું જ ન હોય ને એમ ટેબલ પર આંગળી ટપટપાવતો મારી પાછળની ભીંતની મકાનો, શેરીઓ, શહેરો, ખેતરો, જંગલો અને પર્વતોની આરપાર એકી ટશે જોતો બેઠો. ને ત્યારે મને કંઈ થયું. શું એ થયું તે મેં ઊંચે જોયું. ફરતો પંખો દેખાયો ને મને પ્રશ્ન થયો કે મારું બોધિવૃક્ષ ત્યાં પંખો તો નહીં? મને જે કંઈ થયું એ જ્ઞાન તો નહીં? કેવું છે હે? હસવું આવી જાય એવું કરુણ. તમે માનશો ક્યારેક તો મને એવો પ્રશ્ન થાય છે કે ગૌતમને થયું હતું એ જ્ઞાન જ કે પછી બુદ્ધ તપખીર સૂંઘતા હતા? ને ત્યારે મનમાં એવો તો મૂંઝારો થાય છે, એવો તો મૂંઝારો થાય છે, એવો તો મૂંઝારો. I am searching for my Bodhi tree. No sooner do I see a peepal tree than I run and drop myself below it. A moment or two, an age or two, I keep sitting. You really can't tell with me. Only when I'm convinced that it's not a Bodhi tree do I rise and begin my search anew. This irrepressible longing, non-stop journey, the experiences at every step. What all can I tell you? Once in a hotel, a guy from somewhere walked in and flopped himself in the chair opposite. Putting down the bag he carried on the floor beside him, taking out a handkerchief from his pocket, mopping his face, he glanced through the menu. Having gulped down the glass of water brought by the waiter, placing his order, he took out a diary from his pocket and jotted down something. Like an artist who takes 2 steps back and appraises their incomplete painting, he held his diary a little away and looked at it for a moment. And then, swiftly slipping the diary back into his pocket, with a faint smile on his face, tapping his fingers on the table as though nothing at all had happened, he sat looking through me, the wall behind me, buildings, lanes, towns, fields, jungles, and mountains, unblinkingly. And then something happened. And then something happened to me, which made me look up suddenly. I saw the whirring fan going round and round, and the question arose that my Bodhi tree, is it this fan? What happened to me? Was it enlightenment? See how it is? So sad, it makes you laugh. Would you believe? Sometimes I really wonder, what happened to Gautam? Was it enlightenment? Or was the Buddha taking a pinch of snuff? And then the mind grows so confused, so very confused, so very. There are 2 short poems. Do I have time? Stems with a flower, perhaps. Flower that can't be touched or seen or smelt or cut and crushed. A couple of absurd stems with couple of incomprehensible flowers. That is all we are. Slippery circular wall and a pebble of soul within. That is all we are. Thank you.
He's a bilingual poet who writes in English and in Malayalam. He's won the 2022 Srinivas Raipur Poetry Prize, and he was chosen from among 114 entries received. His work has been translated into Tamil, English, Tamil, Hindi, Bengali, Chinese, and French. He has 6 poetry collections to his credit, and he's currently an English lecturer at the St. Thomas College, Thrissur. Please come on.
Thank you. The title of the poem is Dew. Gandhi statue posted a ₹5 cover to Jesus statue. If you have atoned for all sins by bearing the cross, don't wither in the sun between two thieves. Leave the churches and come here. My people will protect you. I'll read it once again. Gandhi's statue posted a ₹5 cover to Jesus statue. If you have atoned for all sins by bearing the cross, don't wither in the sun between two thieves. Leave the churches and come here. My people will protect you. Jesus replied, the sun is not a problem for you because of your cool head. Rioters won't attack you because you carry a stick. You are secure. I am unarmed. If I come out, your people will attack me. The postman who stole stamps of letters franked insufficient postage on the correspondence between two eras. I shall read the Malayalam version. It's called Dew. ഗാന്ധിയുടെ സ്റ്റാച്യു, ഗാന്ധിയുടെ പ്രതിമ, യേശുവിൻ്റെ പ്രതിമയ്ക്ക് ₹3 പോസ്റ്റ് കവറിൽ എഴുതി. ചെയ്ത പാപങ്ങളെല്ലാം കുരിശു ചുമന്നപ്പോൾ മാറിയെങ്കിൽ 2 കള്ളന്മാർക്കിടയിൽ വെയിലുകൊണ്ട് സ്വയം വാട്ടാതെ ദേവാലയങ്ങൾ വിട്ട് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് പോരൂ. എൻ്റെ ജനത അങ്ങയെ സംരക്ഷിച്ചുകൊള്ളും. മറുപടിയായി യേശു കുറിച്ചത് ഇങ്ങനെ: താപശമനിയായ തല കാരണം വെയിൽ അങ്ങയ്ക്ക് പ്രശ്നമല്ല. കയ്യിൽ വടിയുള്ളത് കാരണം കലാപകാരികൾ അങ്ങയെ ആക്രമിക്കുകയില്ല. താങ്കൾ സ്വയം പര്യാപ്തനാണ്. ഞാൻ നിരായുധനാണ്. പുറത്തിറങ്ങിയാൽ താങ്കളുടെ ജനത എന്നെ ഹിംസിക്കും. കത്തുകളിൽ നിന്ന് സ്റ്റാമ്പ് വിഴുങ്ങിയ പോസ്റ്റ്മാൻ 2 വ്യത്യസ്ത നൂറ്റാണ്ടുകളിലെ പ്രബലർക്കുമീതെ ഡ്യൂ അടിക്കാൻ മറന്നില്ല. Keeper of the Sea. This poem is my own answer to a question, why do I write? People always ask, why do a writer write? That's the usual question that a writer faces. I think the answer is that you asking a plant, why do you flower? It happens. Keeper of the Sea. Loneliness will show you infinity. Who can speak of one who was destined to watch over the sea for a lifetime? The sea moving beneath his eyelids, the salty wind, an endless desert of water. On the shore, I have seen the sun shuffling across the white sands without shoe or shade. In the dark, in the sea, while men and marine creatures were sleeping, I have seen the earth rising from slumber to quarrel with the stars. Why guard the sea which cannot be stolen away? The guardian angel scoffs. loneliness, more than a man can bear, envelops me today, of family, of friendship, of love. Nothing save the progress of the waves, the oldest script on earth. Loneliness will show you infinity. It'll make you hear the whimper of death in silence. The smell of dead man is the smell of the sea. In his dreams, I see flowers of sand that crumple at a touch. Was it you who captained that wrecked wooden ship, ancient as the world, marooned on a subcontinent surrounded by 3 oceans? What desire hardened into pain in the heart of a star only to burst out in 1,000 shots of fire? Whose tears were scours when the wrath of the summer sun raised citadels of clear light in every green sprout? Which flock of the flying wings coming home to roost cut the throat of the tired day and offered it to the night? Is there any warrior who is not in love with the sea? Is there any weapon that does not dissolve in her tears? The night and I have witnessed the widowed moon sheltering little hills with her luminous clock. We have seen from the mountains the sea emerge in a spray of silver wings, heard the howl of wind-driven water. From the origin of language until their lives shriveled away, my ancestors, keepers of the sea, stood here between the stars and the deep, in rain, in wind, in salt. Now it is my watch, a count in one hand, fire in the other, heedless of day and night. Can I read the Malayalam? Yeah. It's called Kadalinte Kavalkaran, Keeper of the Sea. ഏകാന്തത നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അനന്തത കാണിച്ചു തരും. ഒരായുസ് മുഴുവൻ കടലിന് കാവൽ നിൽക്കാൻ വിധിക്കപ്പെട്ടവനെക്കുറിച്ച് ആർക്ക് എന്തു പറയാനാകും? ഇലകൾക്കുള്ളിലെ സമുദ്രചലനം, ഉപ്പുകാറ്റ്, ജലം നിറഞ്ഞ വരൾച്ച. കരയിൽ ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട് തുറന്ന മണൽപ്പരപ്പിലൂടെ സൂര്യൻ ചെരുപ്പില്ലാതെ കുടയില്ലാതെ വേച്ചു കടന്നു പോകുന്നത്. ഇരുട്ടിൽ കടലിൽ ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട് മനുഷ്യരും മത്സ്യങ്ങളും ഉറങ്ങിക്കിടക്കുമ്പോൾ ഭൂമി അവളുടെ ഉറക്കം മതിയാക്കി നിവർന്നു നിന്ന് നക്ഷത്രങ്ങളോട് കലഹിക്കുന്നത്. ആരും എടുത്തുകൊണ്ടു പോകാത്ത കടലിന് എന്തിന് കാവൽ നിൽക്കുന്നു എന്ന് കാവൽ മാലാഖ ചോദിക്കുന്നു. വിഡ്ഢി എന്നെ മുദ്ര കുത്തുന്നു. ഒരാൾക്ക് താങ്ങാനാകുന്നതിലും അധികം ഏകാന്തത എനിക്ക് ചുറ്റും ഇപ്പോഴുണ്ട്. കുടുംബത്തിൻ്റെ, കൂട്ടുകാരുടെ, പ്രണയത്തിൻ്റെ. വായിക്കാൻ തിരകളുടെ ചലനം മാത്രം ഭൂമിയിലെ ഏറ്റവും പ്രാചീനമായ ലിപി. ഏകാന്തത നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അനന്തത കാണിച്ചു തരും. മരണത്തിൻ്റെ ഞരക്കം നിശ്ചലതയുടെ കാതുകളിൽ കേൾപ്പിച്ചു തരും. മരിച്ചവന് കടലിൻ്റെ മണമാണ്. അവൻ്റെ സ്വപ്നങ്ങളിൽ ഞാൻ കാണുന്നു ഏത് നിമിഷവും ഉതിർന്നു വീണേക്കാവുന്ന മണൽപ്പൂക്കൾ. നിങ്ങളായിരുന്നോ തകർന്നു താണ ആ മരക്കപ്പലിലെ കപ്പിത്താൻ? ലോകത്തോളം നരച്ച ആ കപ്പൽ 3 കടലുകൾക്കിടയിലെ ഉപഭൂഖണ്ഡത്തിൽ നഷ്ടപ്പെടുത്തിയത് ആരാണ്? ആരെ പ്രണയിച്ച് നെഞ്ചിൽ ചോര കല്ലിച്ച് നീലിച്ചാണ് നക്ഷത്രം 1000 അഗ്നിച്ചീളുകളായി ധമനി പിളർക്കുന്നത്? ക്രുദ്ധനായ വേനൽ സൂര്യൻ ഓരോ ഇലകളിലും വെളിച്ചത്തിൻ്റെ ചില്ലുകൊട്ടാരം ഉയർത്തുമ്പോൾ ആരുടെ ദുഃഖത്തിൻ്റെ കണ്ണുതുള്ളികളാണ് വരണ്ടുപോയത്? ഏത് പറവക്കൂട്ടമാണ് മടങ്ങിപ്പോകും വഴി ചിറകിനാൽ പകലിൻ്റെ തൊണ്ടയറുത്ത് രാത്രിക്ക് കാഴ്ചവെച്ചത്? ഏത് യോദ്ധാവിനാണ് കടലിനോട് പ്രണയം തോന്നാത്തത്? ഏത് ആയുധമാണ് അവളുടെ കണ്ണുനീരിൽ അലിഞ്ഞു തീരാത്തത്? വിധവയായ നിലാവ് സാരിത്തലപ്പുകൊണ്ട് കുന്നുകളെ അടക്കിപ്പിടിക്കുന്നത് രാത്രിയും ഞാനും നോക്കി നിന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ജലപ്രഹരമേറ്റ് കാറ്റ് ഓരിയിടുന്നത് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. ലിപികൾ തുടങ്ങുന്ന നാൾ തൊട്ട് എൻ്റെ പൂർവീകർ, കടലിൻ്റെ കാവൽക്കാർ, ജീവിതം ദ്രവിച്ചു തീരും വരെ കടലിൽ, കാറ്റിൽ, ഉപ്പിൽ, നക്ഷത്രത്തിനും ആഴത്തിനുമിടയിൽ ഇവിടെ നിൽക്കുന്നു. ഇപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ ഊഴം. ഒരു കയ്യിൽ ശംഖും മറുകൈയിൽ തീയുമായി, രാത്രിയോ പകലോ അറിയാതെ. താങ്ക് യു.
This time I'm going to read my own poetry, not translations. I'm going to read to you from a project that I'm working on, and it started off pretty much as a pandemic project. And what it does is it takes memory and history, and during the pandemic, all of us had a lot of time shut up in our homes to sit and think and remember. And what I'm doing with this project really is remembering. And when I look at the relationship between history and memory, I'm thinking here through this project about how our colonial histories influence our present. So what I've done with this project is I've taken what were called the gazetteers. And I come from a region in Gujarat called Kathiawar. And what I've done is I've taken pages from the Kathiawar Gazetteer, which are basically anthropological, historical descriptions of the place and the people that were created by the British to aid the administration of that district. So I've taken those descriptions, and I've written against the grain of those, of what is said by the colonial gaze. So this first poem is called Langa. And Langas are a community of musicians. They sing. And there was this particular lady called Khatuben who used to come to our place every Diwali to sing. And this poem is a tribute to her. But I also hope what it does is it questions the relationships between, the hierarchical relationships between communities that have made, that hierarchy that has made its way through history into our present times. So, Langa. There is an empty chair. Mother sits in the armchair. The chair is still empty. Khatuben begins to sing. Beside the empty chair, her voice rises in song, morphing my feet, more used to sneakers than ornaments, to a princess's feet in gold anklets. પાયલ વાગ્યા રે મેહુલ ગાજે રે બાજે છે આપનું પાયલ જાડેજા બા હીરા સોહે મોતી સોહે સોહે લાડલો ઓતે પોતે પગ સોહે કેસર ભીના વાઘા. Your anklets tinkle, the rain soars, the rain roars. Your anklets sing, Jadeja ba. Diamonds shine, pearls glimmer. Shines, my darling, your dear feet sparkle, your clothes drenched in saffron. The final note of a song I remember only in images. Its words scattered heavy, like desires, fade into the space by the empty chair. Khatuben picks up her glass of rose sharbat, too cloyingly sweet, because Ma asked me to put extra syrup. No urban sophistication of less sugar, more natural flavor required. She drains the glass, anticipating the heat of the empty afternoon, in which her next patron sits on an ornate armchair. There are many chairs, empty, but Khattuben sits on the floor. Her song keeping alive the darbars past, the offspring of kings and queens, still alive in song, misplaced in time, in democracy. So that fragment of song was sung by a lady called Roshan Ben, and she also belongs to the Langa community. The next poem I'm going to read is from a set of poems I've written called Women Reading. And these are poems exploring reading culture amongst women. So here goes, Women Reading. Ba, my father's mother, learned to read with a newspaper. One headline, one incident, accident, obituary at a time. Moving her lips, forming the words as she read. She used to read the local Gujarati evening newspaper, Akila, sitting in the doorway every day for as long back as I can remember, maybe earlier. From the time before Dada Bapu died, leaving her a widow in white and gray for years longer than she has been a married woman. Aware maybe of mortality and loneliness, Ba always read all the Afsan Nond, death notices, with the grainy black and white photographs garlanded with patterns of curly lines and dots. If you could afford the tempted illumination. When she died, no one remembered to send an Afsan Nod to Akila. This next poem is a tribute to my other grandmother, my mother's mother, Nanima at the village well. Nanima used to love sitting on the swing to read. And she's someone who, she used to live in a town called Rangadra, and she literally read each and every book in the public library. Nanima used to love sitting on the swing to read. That is the photograph I wish I had of her. The one I do have shows her at the village well, looking straight at the camera, head only partly covered. A ghada, a pot, under her arm. The tree on the right, maybe a young neem tree, throws a shadow to the ground. I don't know if this was before or after she refused to cover her head anymore. But on that day, she did something else upper caste Rajput women in the village did not do. She walked through the village, went to the well, filled the pot with water, and walked back home. Maybe this is the picture I want of her, of the woman who would have understood my desire to curl up with a book to read, to travel with my body beyond my body. This one is called Chotila, and Chotila is a little town beyond the city of Rajkot. It's also, it has a hill, and on the top of the hill is a temple to the goddess Chamunda. So this is called Chotila, and there's a page in the Gazetteer which describes the city of Chotila and tells you how many kilometers it is from the nearest center, and tells you about the deity and who's worshipped there. So Chotila. Father walked 46 kilometers, climbed 620 steps, 1,173 feet up the Chotila hill and back in the arid summer heat of Saurashtra to pray to the mother goddess for my birth. He returned, feet swollen and chapped, to mother's ministrations of hot baths for the feet. When I was born, and when my sisters were born, 3 daughters in a place where sons are desired, Papa distributed sweets in celebration. Later, knowing full well what unhappiness it may bring him, he paid for us all to attend university. The next poem is called Miana, and Miana again is a community name. Hurbaima looked after the zanana. No, not a harem. In my great-grandfather's household, formidable and beautiful, she could swim the Khadi, the Gulf of Kutch, in record time. Young men would plead with her not to participate in the annual sea swimming competition, so they stood a chance to win. Hurbaima could harvest bales of chernu ghas, seagrass, swim across the Gulf, keep an iron grip on the household. She was ayah and bodyguard. And she taught my mother her Urdu Kutchi inflected Gujarati to say Zabardasti, to recognize dust in the Gujarati dasto, pestle. So that when my mother is no more, I don't know where, when I will hear a Hindu woman, an upper caste Hindu woman, in distress, call out, Ya Ali Madad. And even as I say the words, it makes me cry. Not just because she will die one day, as will we all, Ma says, death is nothing to be afraid of. But at the loss of a world I thought will stay forever, where our tongues take on the word music of other tongues we may not call our own, but which we can make our own. Staying in my great-grandfather's household in Kutch, my mother learned to understand many languages, the meanings of words like lodh. Her cousin, hankering for adventure on a long summer day, persuaded Ma to go to the shore with Hurbaima to do some lodh. Excited, obedient child that she was, Ma ran to her mother to ask if she could go do some lodh with Hurbaima. Before asking Ma whether she knew what the word meant, Nani Ma gave her what Indian mothers call one tight slap. Then she told her what lodh means. Lodh means to fish. To kill for leisure or for food, unacceptable to my idealistic grandmother who had turned vegetarian in a family where shikar was the norm. I learned that the meanings of words are made by the story they find themselves in. Thank you. And do we have time for one more? Last one? No? All right, on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bharati, Syam, and Gopika and Umesh. The next session here is an English poetry reading session, which I think will begin immediately afterwards. Thank you.